Okay, let's start with the sleepwalking thing. So this is Veterans for Britain. So this is David Banks, Lee Rotherham, and the officer frontage of Julian Thompson, Roger Lane Knott, General Guthrie, Richard Kemp, General Jonathan Riley. If there's anybody I've left out, I apologise, but there's their front lineup. Right, let's get one thing perfectly straight. When nobody's sleepwalking into anything, the Conservative regime are actually doing this, so that's frankly a little bit of, that's the wrong words there, and let's use the right words because they count. And we want the general public to assess and evaluate this properly, even if the MPs are not and Parliament is not, because obviously all of this has been done outside of Parliament. No debate, no scrutiny, no evaluation. So we're really seeing the hijacking of not just the Crown military, and I'm using, this is very strong terms here, so let's nobody start balking, the hijacking of the Crown military and thereby the nation. So Julian Thompson's a great example here, and he said in 1982 with the Falklands, no carrier, no chance. And I believe that's a correct statement, and I think this guy knows what he's talking about. So in this instance, in 2017, in terms of Brexit, okay, everybody just, let's look at this objectively. No British military, no chance. It's as simple as that. So this is up on our Twitter feed, @Strategic Defence. There's this sequence of tweets that I've picked up on here from these other parties are on there. Please start retweeting them. Let's see if we can get a Twitter barrage going here, because the Bruges Group have picked this up. So they are the very much the kind of anti-EU bridgehead into Parliament. They've got a board of MPs and a board of following and experts and entourage. So for them to pick this up and use it, fair enough, it's a posthumous announcement because it's been done, but nonetheless, we must raise awareness. And we've got to push hard now, because what we want is these senior officers to start speaking out and using the right language and really going for this. Otherwise, nothing's going to change.
David, sorry, if I can just interject there, something I'd just like to stress for viewers and listeners, that in having this debate about Britain's military at the moment, we are not coming in to say, well, we need a beefed up British military in order to carry out the foreign policy we're seeing in the Middle East, for example, at the moment. What we are warning about is that the Conservatives, with a barrage of lies, are continuing to hand Britain's military over to the European Union. And this is now on a knife edge. If Britain's military forces continue down the path they're going, they will ultimately be under the control of the European Union, and therefore we no longer exist as a nation state. This is the meat of it.
Right, and the thing that's concerning me most at the minute, David, is that if we look at how this has played out over the last 12 to 18 months, it began with denials that this was happening at all. But most of the headlines now are saying, yes, it is happening, but it's happening because Britain has stepped back and is allowing it to happen. So Britain is no longer arguing against it, but the implication is that Britain's not taking any part in it, and this is disingenuous at best. And I'm just looking at that Bruges Group tweet, and they're kind of saying the same things. But we've got to get this message through that Britain has been part of this from the beginning.
That's quite correct. Yeah, the top echelons in the partisan regime have been complicit with all this. So you're quite correct with what you're saying, that they are heavily involved. There's been no challenging in any quarter. It's been hijacked out of parliamentary committees, and where the money flows and the scrutiny did start to look like it was taking shape between Defence Committee and the Foreign Affairs Committee, it was hijacked again. So we're seeing a kind of a very sophisticated engineering here and Whitehall nobbling to get the debate stopped. So it's down to the sort of big hitting officers really to actually come out and say that, this is the case, because it's very simple. Now, I'm not suggesting, I'm not advocating any kind of warmongering at all with this, but I'm just saying as a matter of principle, is if we don't have control of our own military, we are not a nation. It's as simple as that. It's a vital state leg of the table. It's a vital component to be a nation. So the EU's gain here in gaining our military in military union. So it's not an EU army. It's not something they're going to generate. They're going to consume hours in union. It's the same process as what the currency went through in Europe. It's unification of all the national currencies into one. They unified all of the individual currencies across the EU zone into one, the euro, administered by the ECB via the Bank of International Settlements, so as master bank, which the Bank of England is a shareholder of. So we're going to see the same process here with national militaries across the EU zone being unified into one force. So this is then the debate, obviously, what's that going to do? It's the same as what our military would do as if we retained it. So that's a very separate debate, and I'm not entering into that. I'm saying just as a matter of a fundamental, we don't stop this now. We will not just lose our military. We will lose the budgetary control. We'll lose the policy control completely. We'll lose the capital budgets and the operational budgets of what it would do. And the EU will decide where all that money is spent and on what. And of course, as David already said earlier on, with one of the other facets he was seeing in another field, of course, this is a complete stitch up, because what you'll see is that parties that are directors within defence companies sit on the scrutiny panels and the advisory panels to the EU to tell them where to place the contracts. So we're seeing the same thing here in defence. So for these guys here, Veterans for Britain and the Bruges Group, to be now putting this up, everyone has got to leap on it. It's a vital issue. There will be no Brexit if we don't have a military. It's as simple as that. And what Theresa May is doing is surrendering it without a debate.